How communication has changed in recent years. Within the span of a single generation, the way human beings communicate has been transformed almost beyond recognition. It is easy to forget how recent this revolution really is. Only a few decades ago, reaching someone on the other side of the world meant writing a letter and waiting days, sometimes weeks, for a reply, and even a telephone call across borders was an expensive luxury, reserved for special occasions. Today, a message can circle the globe in a fraction of a second, at virtually no cost. Distance, which for the whole of human history had shaped and limited our relationships, has quietly ceased to matter. At the center of this upheaval sits the smartphone. Most of us now carry, in a single pocket, a device more powerful than the computers that once occupied entire rooms and served whole institutions. Through it, we are permanently connected to our friends and family, to our colleagues, and to an endless, ever-refreshing stream of information. We no longer go online as if visiting a separate place. The boundary between the digital world and ordinary life has dissolved, and for many of us being connected has become the default state of existence. Social media has changed not only how we speak, but what we choose to reveal. We broadcast our meals, our opinions, and our holidays to hundreds of people at once, a great many of whom we have never actually met. In some respects, this is genuinely liberating. A teenager in a remote village can now follow events unfolding on the far side of the planet, learn from experts they will never meet in person, and find communities of people who share their most particular interests. Never before have so many voices been able to speak and to be heard. Yet the same freedom carries a hidden cost. We are surrounded by a constant clamor of opinion, and it has become surprisingly difficult to discern which sources genuinely deserve our trust. Alongside real knowledge, misinformation now spreads faster than ever, and we increasingly encounter only the views we already hold, gently walled inside comfortable echo chambers of our own making. Even the shape of the language itself has shifted. The long, unhurried telephone conversation has given way to rapid text messages, voice notes, and an entire vocabulary of emojis, memes, and reactions. A single well-chosen image can now convey what once required a paragraph of careful prose. Much of our communication has become asynchronous. We no longer expect an immediate reply, but rather send fragments back and forth throughout the day, weaving conversation into the gaps of our routine. The formal register that once governed written correspondence has loosened considerably, and with it, some would argue, a certain patience, precision, and depth. The past few years, in particular, accelerated changes that might otherwise have taken a decade to unfold. During the pandemic, video calls moved from the margins to the very center of daily life, allowing scattered families to gather and enabling millions of people to work from home. That shift has not fully reversed. Remote and hybrid work are now ordinary arrangements, and with them the once clear line between the office and the living room has grown blurred, for better and, at times, for worse. And the story is far from finished. Artificial intelligence has begun to insert itself quietly into the very fabric of communication, drafting our emails, translating our conversations in real time, and answering our questions almost before we have finished forming them. Increasingly, we are forced to ask ourselves whether the words we read were written by a human being at all, and what authenticity will come to mean in an age when a machine can imitate almost any voice, in almost any language. For all this dazzling speed and convenience, one honest question stubbornly refuses to go away. We are, without any doubt, the most connected generation in history, but are we any closer to one another? Research suggests, paradoxically, that rates of loneliness have risen even as our devices promise us endless company. Perhaps the uncomfortable truth is that a message is not the same as a presence, and that convenience, however seductive, makes a poor substitute for genuine depth. Behind every glowing screen there still remains a human being who simply wants to be understood. The tools, we can be certain, will go on changing, and faster than we tend to expect. The deep and stubborn human need they exist to serve, however, has not changed in the slightest, and, in all likelihood, it never will.